Welcome to beautiful Bocas del Toro, Panama. That's where your video is coming to you today from. And Bocas del Toro is now my home. And before I start this video, I'm going to talk about something that I'm probably going to say 99 times in 99 future videos. Bocas del Toro is a huge province in Panama. It is not Bocas Town on Isla Colón. It is my massive pet peeve when people think that if I say I live in Bocas, that I live in Bocas Town on Isla Colón, or I must live on an island, because I don't. I don't live in a town and I don't live on an island. I'm sitting on the mainland right now with the Caribbean Sea behind me. Okay, so let's talk today about when you decide that you're going to move to Panama. Should you rent or should you buy? And this is one of those topics that comes up on the expat boards constantly, and it's one that most expats have a very strong opinion about. And that opinion is rent in capital letters with several exclamation points and in parentheses for at least 6 to 12 months. And in the vast majority of cases, that is solid advice. But again, it's not the best advice in all circumstances, because your situation is going to be different than someone else's. Mine is different than yours. So let's talk today about how you're going to decide if it's best for you to rent or if it's best for you to buy real estate here in Panama. So I'm just going to jump out of the box here and say that probably 90% of you watching this video need to rent. And I know that especially if you're coming from the United States, and I came from Los Angeles, where the rental market is like this practically all of the time, popping. I mean, I can buy a house in Los Angeles on a Monday and decide I don't like it and sell it, on a Friday and make $10,000. I mean, about that. Seriously, it's ridiculous there. That is not the case here. The real estate market is not popping. It's not happening. It's not fast. There's not multiple offers, and if you come across a real estate agent who is telling you those things, you might want to run away, because obviously they're trying to sell you something. So the real estate market in Panama is pretty tough in the vast majority of areas. There may be some pockets here and there where things pop a little bit more, but in the country as a whole, what you're looking at always is a buyer's market, meaning that the real estate market is more favorable to buyers. The reason for that is because practically everything in Panama is for sale. Everything. The market is glutted with properties for sale in every shape, size, color, and anything you could want. And what ends up happening is that because there are not enough buyers here in Panama, the sellers are generally in a very tough position. They're either going to be sitting on that property for, people, I'm talking years to sell a property here in a vast majority of cases. Yes, obviously some sell in a shorter amount of time. Kind of depends a lot on price and location. But many properties here sit for years, and what ends up happening is for them to sell, the seller ends up drastically reducing the selling price and either break even or make a teeny tiny profit, break even, or in many cases lose money on their original real estate investment. So what we want to do is prevent that from happening to you. So the best course of action is for, again, 90-ish% of you is to get here and rent. Because the biggest problem that I see, especially on the expat boards and the people here on my YouTube channel, are people who really have not explored Panama very much, haven't explored anywhere in Central America. They saw it in International Living, or they saw it in some magazine or some website, and Panama, the next paradise, the best place in the world to retire to. And so they automatically think that they need to dump their nest egg into Panama and move down here where everything is perfect because it's paradise. And that is absolutely not the case. I've been threatening to make some Panama videos about the anti-paradise because it's not paradise every day, I promise you. And I've been here for 2 months. It's wonderful, but it's not paradise every day. So if you really, if you're the person who's asking on the boards, where in Panama should I move to? You are the person who needs to rent. Period. 100% of you. Okay? Because you may get a lot of research and even visit, let's say, Boquete, which is a hot expat community, and decide you want to move to Boquete. And so you're going to plop down $400,000 on a piece of land with a house on it because it's perfect for you and you love it and you're going to spend the rest of your life there. And then 8 months in, you realize, I hate being around other expats and it's cold up here. Okay, that would be my scenario. Okay, so then you're stuck. You're not going to be able to turn that property around in a month, chances are, unless you take a loss on it and make it super cheap and super attractive to one of the very few buyers that are out there. So if you come to Boquete and you rent for a year, which 6 months to a year is what's normally said, and I think most people say a year because you really do want to experience the entire climate for that area and really get a solid foundation of what it's like to live there long term. Okay, I don't really know that much about Boquete, but I know that there are times of the year where the wind blows like so ferociously, it practically blows your brains out through your other ear. That's not something I want to live in. Here in Bocas, we have wet season and wetter season pretty much. Every once in a while we might get a decent dry season, but it rains a lot here. So if you think Bocas is paradise because you came here on a vacation and then you get here and it's raining every day for a month during, let's say, like November or December, and you're miserable, I mean, is that how you want to spend the rest of your life? Probably not. So the best course of action is to find an area of Panama that you really like, that it has all the non-negotiables for you. We talked about non-negotiables in the very first videos that I put on this channel about deciding which country you want to live in. Well, once you decide which country you want to live in, then you've got to have your non-negotiables for what area of that country do you want to live in. So the country fits your major non-negotiable bullet points, but then your subset of bullet points, that's going to be some area within the country. So for me, my subset bullet points were, I wanted oceanfront property, I wanted jungle property, I wanted at least 3 hectares, okay? And I wanted to be on the mainland with road access. That took my real estate pool from here in Bocas from this to literally that, like practically nothing, because I knew exactly what I wanted, which is what you have to know before you move here and buy real estate. You have to know exactly what you want, what is going to fit into your long-term goals. So I got this property at a deep discount. It had been on the market for about 6 years, I think, maybe even longer. And I got it for, I'd have to go in and do the math. I'll do the math and put the real calculation on the video, but I think maybe 70% less than the original asking price, because the seller was just getting desperate at that point to offload it, because there's not a lot of buyers. I mean, you'd think, oh my gosh, oceanfront, jungle, road access, all of this stuff. All those things are great. But again, the buyer pool here in Panama is very, very small for the amount of properties that are on the market. So it takes that one certain buyer to come across your property. So it would not have made sense for me to come here and rent, because I knew exactly what I wanted and I immediately found the exact property that I was looking for. There were not going to be a lot more of those popping up on the market. So I pulled the trigger and bought the property. Now, I will preface that by saying, if you've watched these other videos, I've spent 6 years researching Central America. I know what I like, okay? I know I want jungle. I've known that for 6 years since I first went to Belize. I know I want oceanfront because I have a degree in marine biology. And I know that I like the Caribbean side better than the Pacific side. I've spent a few months living on the Pacific side of Costa Rica. I've spent time visiting the Pacific side of Panama. I don't like the vibe there as much. Okay, there are other people who are like, oh my gosh, the vibe on the Pacific is the best. Because it's individual. It's individual interests and individual likes, which is why you really have to hone in what it is that you're looking for before you pull the trigger on a property. I knew I loved the Caribbean side. I knew I loved the Caribbean side from the first time I came to Panama, and I had been on the Pacific side, and then I came over to Bocas. That's been about 5 years ago, and loved Bocas. And then I went and explored the Pacific side of Costa Rica and the Caribbean side of Costa Rica, and I loved the Caribbean side of Costa Rica. So I knew the Caribbean was my vibe. So I really had it all honed down, and that's what you've got to do. And again, that's because I had spent a lot of time visiting all of these countries, boots on the ground, and research. If you haven't done that and you haven't honed in, you really need to rent first, because that is going to give you freedom. It's going to give you the freedom to move from place to place to place within Panama until you find that place that's perfect for you. Because maybe you get somewhere and you think the international school is great there, and you put your kids in and they absolutely hate it, and you hate the weather, and someone else in your family hates not having the beach right close to you. So at that point, when your lease is up, you can pick up, move, and go explore another place without being stuck, without being trapped in this real estate game here. Okay? So that's what I'm going to recommend. That if you really do not know exactly what it is that you want and exactly where it is that you want to be, rent. You will not regret renting. I promise you, chances are very few people are going to be in a situation where I was, where I knew exactly what I needed, because I have business goals for that property. So I knew exactly what I needed and where I needed it to be. Most people just want a property with a house on it. Some people want a small property. Some people want a big property. I have 5 hectares, like 13 acres, okay, because I needed a big piece of property. Some people don't want to maintain that. Again, it's so individual. But what is not individual is that if you are not 100% sure where in Panama is best for you, you better rent. You might decide that you need amenities of the city. I am in a place where I drive 20 minutes to the nearest, I can barely call it a town, and there's not a whole lot that I can get there. I honestly, to get to like real live civilization, I have to drive to David, which is a little over 3 hours away. A lot of people don't want to do that. So you get yourself stuck up off here on one of these islands somewhere, you could be in a heck of a mess. You know, another thing that I realized, so many people come and they come to Bocas and they're, oh my gosh, the island life. I'm living on a Caribbean island. Oh, it's the paradise. It's the dream. And then you realize you have to take a boat everywhere you go. Not for me. Okay, I like to have the freedom of my vehicle, which is why I wanted to be on the road. So again, those are just my circumstances. Those are just the things that I needed. Those are my non-negotiables. What are yours? Get with your family, write them down, come to Panama, and really start exploring these areas. In fact, I would get a solid non-negotiable list. Solid! With a lot of different options. And then go to the expat groups on Facebook and say, here's my non-negotiable list. What areas best fit this? Because a lot of times expats come in and they're like, oh, I want to move to Panama. I like the beach. Where's the best place to live? Okay, that's not enough information. We're talking about a country that has 2 entire coastlines, okay? With a lot to offer and a lot of variety. Or, I want to move to Panama and I want to start a permaculture farm. Where's the best farmland? Okay, on the interior, there's a lot of farmland. So where are you going to light? Really hone it in, because I promise you that your non-negotiables are not just, I want to be at the beach or I want to be in the mountains. It's not. There are several things that you need. It could be medical care. It could be access to amenities like shopping. It could be access to the beach or better weather, whatever it is. Sit down with your family, write it out, find those areas, get to Panama, rent a car, drive around and explore those areas on your own. That really is the best way. I mean, yes, you can have your handheld and kind of go around, and that works well for some people. There's these tours that you can go on. For me, that's not how I like to do things. I like to be on my own and be able to explore a little bit more. But get there, do your research, find a place that looks great, and then rent. And if it turns out to be the place you were meant to be, when that lease is up, you can buy. And the kicker on that is that you are going to be in a better position, because once you've been there a year, you're going to know everything that's on the market there. You're going to know a lot of locals, and you're going to end up getting much better pricing than if you bought something off the internet. And so that's going to be another video that's coming up in this real estate series soon about actually purchasing real estate. Okay, so all of that said, I am renting right now because my property is not in livable condition. So what am I paying? So I am renting half of a duplex. The owner lives in one half. I live in the other. It's a 1-bedroom with a bathroom and a kitchen and a little living room and a patio. And I am paying $580 a month with high-speed internet that they installed for me because I had to have internet, and all of my utilities. In fact, electricity just got hooked up last week for the first time ever. So now we have electricity. We were doing solar and generators before that. So life's a lot easier. So $580 a month for that. It isn't bad. And, you know, depending upon where you are, you can find some really good rental rates. In fact, what I would probably recommend that you do if you're coming to rent is once you find your area, you just grab an Airbnb for a couple of weeks and boots on the ground. Start walking around, start talking to people to find a rental rather than just trying to find it online. You're going to find a better variety and definitely a better price if you do it that way. Okay, so I hope this is helping you make your decision better, helping you make a smart decision, because we want people to be in Panama for a long time and to enjoy their experience here, not get stuck in some real estate thing that they can't get out of. All right, so if you liked this video and it helped you, please subscribe. We have new videos every Friday. And like I said, there's a lot more real estate videos coming up in the very near future. So until then, see you next Friday.